Hello and welcome everyone to our Saturday stream. I'm Josh and this is our map and image creation in Fantasy Grounds Unity. Oh, hey everybody. Oh, good. 15 minutes. Oh, good. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining me. We have some severe weather in my part of the world today, so if I happen to drop out or if something happens, you'll know why. We have, it looks like about 20 inches of snow outside already. And we got a few more hours of it. So hopefully we can get through today's stream. But yeah, so we started this map last week, and we're going to continue working on it this week. We've set up this basic kind of street here. We're doing like this semi-sci-fi slash cyberpunk-ish kind of environment here. And oh, 90 degrees. That's It's not that cold here. It's only like in the high 20s, low 30s, but we are getting quite a lot of snow. So anyway, we're going to continue in. We're going to start doing some of the interior stuff and work on some other elements as well. We did set up all of our lighting and our line of sight, and we did mask off our ambient light, which we have this kind of like night-esque feeling environment here. And we're going to, we did some of these like neon elements as well, made them glow. I can show you guys how to do your own custom kind of things like this as well. And yeah, we'll kind of go through a whole bunch of different processes here. The next thing we're going to actually do is we'll do an interior here. And with our so masking out our ambient light, all that does is prevent the ambient light source from interacting with areas of our environment. But it doesn't have anything to do with any other light sources. So what we can actually do is begin to add in some additional kind of lighting inside of these establishments. And what we'll do is we'll add in some windows and whatnot. And you can see how that's going to help kind of sell some of the environmental effects in addition to what we already have going on here. Right, yeah, you could totally have some really cool kind of sound effects there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my lighting layer here, and I'm going to add in a new light. I'm just going to make it white for right now, and we're just going to kind of drop it in here. You can see that this is going to interact with the line of sight. See, if I move it outside, it's going to be outside and not inside. But as long as it's inside, all of the occluders are going to block whatever environment that I have going on inside of here, all the lighting environment. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to change some of these variables here a little bit. So we have a little bit more of a gradient. And I'm going to increase the size of this. Let's make the dim area quite a bit bigger. Let's do something like 20. We'll fill up this entire area. Actually, not that big. We're going to make some adjustments on this as we go. Yeah, maybe I guess 20. And we might even want to do like 25. And we can do our brightness on the inside. Maybe we'll do that like 20. So here we have our inside environment here. That's all lit up. And I'm going to see this as the GM because I'm looking at this from a different perspective. But the player would not be able to see this unless we start to mess with some of the occluders here. And let me show you how this kind of scenario is going to work. We're doing this urban street environment, right? So we're going to have lots of windows and doors and whatnot. So before I do any sort of visual elements here, the first thing I'm going to do is well, we could do the visual stuff first, I suppose, if we want to. We could put in our doors and whatnot. But well, we don't even really need to worry about that, especially where I might have some time constraints with weather. Let's just kind of get into the meat of all this stuff. So we're going to go right into our occluders here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my window. You can see we have some options here. One is toggleable. Now the toggleable element is going to be, is this going to be able to be opened or not? Are these like picture windows? Are these particular types of windows that we really don't want to have a lot of player interaction with? So I'm going to turn this off. And what this other element says over here is, will this trim the interior element? So let's say, for example, we'll have our main door here, but let's do like a large window here. And what that will do is it'll just cut that right out. So I can just kind of create that environment for me, right? And then I can do it over here. Let's do another one big. Basically, and you can see as this updates, we're going to get light streaming out from our light source. So we're going to want it to set up these elements here to interact with that. I'm not going to do the ones on the back side because we really have no use for it at the moment. If we decide to expand this out, that's pretty easy for us to do. And just to update this, I'm just going to turn the lights on and off really. You can see we're not only are we going to get the interaction from the street light coming in, but we're also going to have the interaction of the lights from inside the building coming out. So now we're going to go back into our lighting area over here, and we're going to make our adjustments to this as what we want here. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make this a lot smaller. We're going to do several different lights in here. As you know, you usually inside of an establishment, you're not going to have one major light source, you're going to have several. But I wanted to make it large enough so that you could kind of see that as we interact with it. And you can see we can get some really cool kind of effects here. Stuff does interact with each other. So let's make this quite a bit smaller. We can do maybe 10 and make this like 12, maybe something like this. Or maybe a little bit smaller than that. Let's do like 8, 10. I want to have a little bit of spilling out, but I don't want it to necessarily have too much interaction there. And we might want to do a little bit more of a traditional kind of fall off here. We may even want to do this one actually a little even smaller, and we'll just duplicate the number. We'll do more than these than we actually need. So we're going to do 4, 5, 50, and 50. So let's just go over here. I'm just going to make sure that we get all of these parameters the same, so I can just kind of plop these down here. And then we can make all of our adjustments all at the same time. This is where they kind of interact with each other here. So let's grab all of these. And now what we can do is let's increase this to like 6, for example. This is a good amount for it to kind of just figuring out all of our spacing and whatnot. I like this amount that kind of spills out into the surrounding area here, and I can select them all, and maybe we'll do like 7. And that'll give us a pretty good, well-lit interior here with some of the light that kind of spills out here. Maybe actually what we'll do is we'll do this 5 and bring that back down to 6, and then we can kind of position this to wherever we want it to be. I think what we'll actually do is change this all off, be 100, and then we'll get a little bit more of a gradient on the outside there, as you can see. Now I think what I'll actually do as well is let's change the color of this. We'll do something very subtle in here. We could actually probably do this overlapping. We want to do a little bit more color in here. What we could actually do is, what happens when we bring this down? Yeah, we could do some rather interesting kind of effect. I think we'll leave it like this. Guess we'll leave the color off. We might add in some kind of elements in. it might be easier to add in our color variations with an adjust layer. Great, so what kind of building do you think this is going to be? And let's add in a door as well. And this will be our large kind of door area over here. Oh, a space taco shop. Yeah, we can make it like a restaurant. Yeah, that all sounds good. Let's do that. We'll make it like some sort of eating establishment. We'll do some tables and chairs and whatnot. So we're going to have to do all of this stuff above our buildings layer, right? So we have above buildings, and then we have buildings layer. So I'm going to make a new painting layer, and I'm going to drop that in between them. And we can call this interior. And this will be all of the different interiors. We can kind of keep this all on one layer. And before I go any further, let's just move over here, go into our combat tracker, and we'll grab somebody and we'll just drag him, drop him out here. And just see how some of this stuff kind of interacts. We might want to keep that door open. And you can see that all of the lighting elements, and this would be all of the player view as we can kind of see it here. Yeah, everything seems to be working well. Let's go into our assets, and I'll move this over. We'll maximize our workspace here a little bit. Drag this down. So the first thing that I'm going to do before I start to add in additional elements here is we want to make sure that we work from what is farthest away from us, and what I mean by that farthest away from us is the viewer as the player. So the thing that's going to be on the ground, so any sort of texture changes we want to do to the ground, any sort of additional elements that we want to add in, we want to make sure that we do that first. And then we can add in all of our additional elements on top of that. This is a really good rule of thumb to start working with. You can always add in additional layers later if you need to. But if you get used to working this way, you can minimize the number of layers that you have and the number of interactions. So let's open this up. I'm just going to type in, well, I'm going to go to the winter art package. And we'll go into our effects. We'll go into our painting tab over here, and let's switch over to our stamp. And I'll grab some of these elements here, these just kind of white, grungy things that we're going to use here. And I'm going to use the R, G, and B keys. And I'm going to just make this a little bit darker. I want it to be kind of subtle. And we're going to lower down our opacity here a bit. And I'm going to hold A and use my mouse wheel for that. And let's add a little bit of color to it. So I'm just going to darken up the values that I don't want to have. So I'm going to make it a little bit green. Maybe we'll make it a little bit more like brown. As you can see here, something that's pretty subtle. Lower down my opacity a little bit more. And I'm just going to stamp this in here. Whoop, I want to make sure I'm on the correct layer down here. So make sure we're in our interior layer. And then we can just kind of drop this down like this. And you can see this is going to just add in a little bit of variations as we build on top of it. We'll kind of see how this works. We did the same thing with our street out here. We have lots of different cool kind of textures and changes in color values. We did some stuff in and around the the different elements here. See, and what it does is just adds that filled in element, right? Like that lived in. It feels as though it's lived in. Sometimes words are hard. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of ambient shadows, kind of coming from around the edges here. Okay? So we can do that a couple of different ways. I can either do that with an effects layer, or I can paint that in. I think what I'll actually do is I think that we'll do it with yeah, let's do it with another adjust, because we can use it for all of our different ones. Let's add a new effects layer, and we're going to drop this down in underneath our building interior here, and we're going to make that just colors, and I'm just going to darken it up a little bit, as you can see, like this. Then we're going to add a mask. We're going to change these values here, but this is just going to get us started. And all you have to do is just snap out like this, and then hold shift and do a little bit on the inside here. And then we're just going to blur out those edges, as you can see, something like this. That's just going to give us a little bit, as I said, a little bit of ambient occlusion around those edges. We might even want to make it a little bit further back. And we might even want to make it further back in the areas where we have these openings. Now the cool thing about using these effects layers is that I can add in additional elements later, like I could do this underneath chairs and tables and so on. So it just gives us a lot of flexibility in adding in a lot of those elements that we might want to. And you can see this subtlety. One of the things that I think is really important is those subtle little changes like that. You see like how we have like these mixing of lights as they come throughout these windows, these very subtle kind of ambient shadows that we have like around the edges of these. And you can see the huge difference when you turn them off. You can see that how that changes that drastically. And if we look at the one for our street, for example, we turn that off. Oh, that's the one for our entire street there. But we have one also for here, which I guess we could have just used this one on the interior there. No matter, we'll separate them. But you can see that this is a very subtle kind of shadow around our curb here. And what a difference it makes when we turn that off and turn it back on. It just gives it a little bit more depth. And those minor differences make a drastic impact on the visual quality of your map. They're certainly not necessary, but it is something that you should be aware of if you're trying to create something that is a little bit more, has a lot more visual information rather than descriptive information. Especially with playing in our games, I find that doing maps that represent a lot of the descriptive nature of the environment that you're trying to portray is much easier to do with some minor changes like that than you could with a descriptor as you're trying to narrate a location. Great, so now let's go up into here. The next thing that we're going to do is if we think about anything that might be on the ground itself, or how we're going to set this thing up, we're going to have to do like a counter space, chairs, tables. We might want to do like a back room, for example. We can add in additional wall elements. And I'm going to do that all in my interior here. And I'll do my walls like later if I decide to do them. We'll do like a little storage area back here, I think. And we'll do some additional kind of line of sight elements that might be necessary for the entire interior. I think what we'll do next is let's just grab some chairs, and we might even want to do like some. I'll do like these kind of um, rather bleak looking, but we can add again. We can add some additional kind of elements to them, and we'll probably change the color here a little bit. We'll make like a whole kind of like establishment. I'm just going to grab this. And why don't we say, here's our front door, right? So why don't we do, this will be, we'll do like a back room, like over in here. And maybe we'll say like we'll do like an L-shaped counter round. And we'll have like the eating area over here. And this would be like where you would get your food and whatnot. So I'm just going to start placing some chairs around here. Now, that's a strange little graphic bug there. I'll have to make a note of that. And we'll just kind of place a few of these around. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I'm going to change its color here. We'll make like a little fast food establishment. We'll come up with a color scheme here. So why don't we do it like I'm gonna say like this aqua color and maybe like a green color or maybe like orange. And that way we might even want to change this out here to kind of match. Like this will be like the sign for the establishment. Oh, we should actually look up bench too. Something like that might be able to work as well. Like this. I'm going to drop one of these down like this, and then I'm going to grab this. See, that changes it a little bit, so we're going to have to make it a little bit lighter. We'll have to get it fairly close. We might want to actually, that one's white, we'll just kind of let this one right out to whatever color it is, and then we can kind of grab it from there. And the reason why we want to do, like put something down like that is now I can just grab it again from that layer. So we'll do maybe like let's do a bench back wall here. This. And then there might be like a booth or something that's here. We'll do like chairs on the other. Then we'll do, I even want to do like a row of, well, we'll definitely want to make sure that we keep them stuck in, yeah, something like this. I'll move it. I'm just snapping to the grid at the moment. And we can change these, move these around later. What I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to grab this color, what matches. We're going to need to lighten that up a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty close. Something like that. And if we do like the kitchen back area over here, we can do our counter along here, and we might, oh, we can do some, maybe we'll do like a counter space here. Like looking out the window. And that'll be pretty good for right now. We can add in additional elements later if we need. And now what I'm going to do is I can come back. Well, actually, let's do a table next. Yeah, we'll do something like that. But we'll do this one down here. Do like a table here and a table. And then we can. Oh, is it your birthday? Is it your birthday, Paulette? Oh, well, happy birthday. Now let's add in. I'm going to actually do this right along here. We'll do like an entire element down here. I'm going to make this 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 10. Yeah, we have our little eating areas down here. We can do exactly the same thing that we did before. I'm going to grab some of these like texture changes, where things have spilt and whatnot. But before I do that, I'm going to go into my adjust colors and go over to our effects. And I'm just going to click on reveal area. And we can just kind of do like these little bits of shadow that are going to underneath and poking out from this stuff. See, that already gives it a little bit, and you see that subtlety? Because we've already set it all up. Um, Basically, all it does is it just generates for us automatically some nice little ambient shadows that are kind of out. Now we can accentuate this later. We're going to want to do some on these. We're going to show like a little bit of shadow coming from the tables themselves, but it instantly gives us a little bit of visual feedback. The next thing I'm going to do is go back into my interior over here, and I'm going to grab one of these elements that I already put down on the floor. I'm going to add some additional ones. I'm going to make this a little bit redder and show up a little bit more on here. And we're just going to stamp some smaller ones and some stuff on these. Remember, we're doing like this gritty, kind of cyberpunkish environment here. We might even want to make it a bit lighter. So what are the kind of things that you think that we would see like on these tables and whatnot? We'd probably have some trash around. We'll probably do like some cups and whatnot. We'll do like oh yeah, serving trays. That's a good idea. You know, I don't think that I have any. Uh, we will grab some of these like little trash elements though. Maybe place some stuff like this around. The great thing about these is you can change their colors, size, and rotation, and that really adds a lot of that. I don't think I have any. I'm gonna have to make some like modern kind of like trash cans that aren't completely covered in debris and whatnot. But we can make our own. One of the great things about Fantasy Grounds image creation system is we can pretty much make whatever we want to with very little effort, just with our painting tools themselves, or with some of the texture-based stuff here. So why don't we do that? What I'll do is let's put a we'll do two different trash cans. We'll do one on this side and one on this side. So what I'm basically going to do is find something that has a similar kind of texture that I want. Maybe like this table here, right? The same exact table. And what I'll do is I'm going to switch over. I'm going to leave the stroke on, but on the painting element here, and then I'm going to switch over to this fill, and then I'm just going to. I think what I can do is grab this, and then I'll grab this hexadecimal code. Okay, and then in my fill element, I'll hit Control V. Okay, and then over here, to match up the size of my line here, pretty close to that. Not exactly sure why this is cutting off that line, but I'll report that. What I can do is I can now drag out. We might even want to make it like circular if we want to. But we can just make it kind of square for right now. I'm going to add rounded corners to it. We're just going to drag out circle. Doesn't seem to want to be working correctly here. Let's close this down. Reopen it. Great. And hopefully we can get that to work now. Go. And that is one square. And now what I can actually do is I can manipulate this around. We can, oh, it looks like I grabbed the, we'll do something like this. You can see it's got a little bit of texture on there, same as the tables. That outline is a little bit too big. Let's do that again. Switch over to the stroke here, and I'm just going to make that smaller. Yeah. be a bit better. Make it. Yeah, I like that one. Great, and what I can actually do is just grab this, and we can hold Control and kind of pull it over to the side here. We might even want to move it, snap that back into place, and I can just this whole thing. What I'm actually going to do is I want to have this little lip right here, and I'm going to do like a little opening right there. And then I'll do another one on this side, like right here. And again, now I'll just double click this and move it to wherever I want it to be. And then move that texture again. Now all I have to do is come back into here, and then I'll turn off my fill with the same kind of stroke here and do rounded edges. Create the little opening in the front. And we can always move these ones, make that a little bit more narrow. Yeah, cool. Great. Now what we can actually do is grab one of these elements again. And we can kind of stamp on top of this stuff a little bit. Get some. We might even want to do like a little bit of like some trash hanging out. We'll do some trays on the top. That kind of stuff. And what we can actually do with this effects layer, add in additional kind of shadow elements on top here. Might want to do like that. That's a little bit too light. We'll just add it in a little bit different. I'll just paint them in with the stamp tool. Great. Now before we add in a whole bunch of other little incidental things, let's do some of our main kind of construction here. What I want to do is let's do we have some pre-made counters, but we're looking for like a brush. I want to be able to paint this out. So I think in the modern, maybe even in the sci-fi. Let's look in the sci-fi first. Look at our brushes here. Something that we might be able to use. I don't think that there's going to be anything there. Let's go into our modern houses here. Should have a whole bunch of different type of brushes. Here we have like some cool little tiles and stuff. We could do some cool stuff with that. That's all just decorations. Go to modern industrial. Well, yeah, we could do like a concrete one. Maybe something like this. What I would actually do is make it too wide is good, shorter. Be good. And so my thought process is we'll do like this counter that kind of comes out here. We'll do a break in the counter, and then or we could do yeah we'll do like this will be like the kitchen area. I think well let's just kind of like pull this out here a little bit. And again I'm gonna go from like here and on a rounded corner. Then I can just put in. Again, I can go back into my next layer here, kind of add in a nice little shadow from it. We'll do one behind as well. And we can adjust this as we kind of continue on here, right? To create lots of little areas. You might even want to make the floor. So if we go down into buildings, we can go in our edit fill layer. You can see we have this. I might want to make this a little bit darker so it's not so abrasive on our eyes here. We could even change the color here a little bit, right? So we could do, maybe if we're going to make it, oh yeah, we can definitely do like a big doormat right there. Sure. Yeah, that's starting to feel pretty good to me, I think. Do you think that there would be workers here, or do you think it'd be like fully automated? Do you think that we would have like cash registers and whatnot, or do you think it would all just be like machine? Yeah, it's an automat. So maybe what we'll do then is we'll just build like a large kind of thing here. Maybe we'll do like a as you scanner or something that So if we wanted to make this feel a little bit more, let's go into our sci-fi here. We can start to build out little elements here and whatnot if we want to. I'm just going to kind of create a little overlay element here. Maybe we'll do like, and then we can use some of these like little console elements, kind of build out what we want to do here. I'm going to go over here. Sure, we have no fill element added there. Actually, we could do something along those lines. I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, if we wanted to do like all the inner workings and whatnot, we certainly could, but I'm just going to start to build out some shapes here. And we can make some adjustments. Yeah, maybe something like that. And then we could do, we have like these little ins and outs here, but we can move. We'll line this up wall a little bit more. Yeah, we'll do something like that. And then we can do like these little devices and whatnot all along it. Food and what. We can do like a food dispensary. And this will be like maybe a maintenance area. We could do like a back room here, like, and then we can go into operations here. We can start to build out some of this. Do a little yeah, we can kind of continue around and do a lot of these different elements. And once we add in some of that shadow information, I think you'll see that get lots of cool stuff in here. And this kind of works really well, I think, like just keeping this. We might want to change that color a little bit. This in here, we can just kind of darken this so you get a little more of that definition. Pretty fun just using all these different little pieces to kind of add things together, make things look like advanced machinery or something. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now let's add in some of their additional kind of shadow stuff. And we can actually go into our these adjust colors here. And this is the one that's our green. We might want to change this kind of fit our scheme here a little, maybe make it a little bit more like this. We can just go in and what we'll need to do is add a little bit more blue to it. As you can see, something like that. And then we can use this inside as well, right? So what we can actually do is maybe add in some little glowing elements like this. And we'll have to smaller so it's not so add some little glowing elements like this. We could also do that with additional lighting elements if we wanted to change our lighting system a little bit. We can also add in um, additional stuff back here if we want to make it seem a little bit more industrial. Do all kinds of maintenance elements back here. I'm actually going to grab lower down, get darker, lower down its opacity. And I'm going to make this oblong here. And let's make it a little bit more narrow. And that way I can just kind of stamp like right here. And this will give us a little bit of that separation between elements. Something like that. Then we'll do some here. Yeah, super cool. Go into here, trash cans, and a little bit back here. Excellent. Next thing I'm going to do is just kind of drop around. Do debris here and there. We have like these, why don't we use, these look a little bit more like, see what we can do. Okay. This is actually a morgue tray. And we can change its color here. Make it a little bit like orangey, I think. And we can add in back. Grab this cup again. Let's do a whole bunch of them over here. Yes, Soylent Green. That's right. Oh, thanks, DM Dad Diecast. I believe that's wrappers and things around. Hey, Jiminy. Glad you could make it. Awesome. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in and add some minor little incidental shadows around, and then we'll be done with this location. What I'm going to do is I'll just do inside of these cups a little bit. Then I'm going to make it slightly oblong. I'm going to stamp out some little shadows for this stuff. And you can see that just adds a little bit of additional believability to the Oh, hey, Brad. Awesome. So here we have our nice little eating establishment all done. Pretty well finished here. Might want to do like a couple additional kind of elements in here depending on what we wanted to do. One other thing that you can do with color adjust layers, I love the color adjust layers all the time. Let's create one more. We can also use it to do some color variations. Oh, thanks. We can use it to make some color variations, and you can do it quite subtly as well. So the same kind of thing. If we wanted to do like stains and whatnot, make it a little bit redder, create a mask, and then you can just, if you hold down Alt, you can kind of draw out like these sections and blur out the edges. You can get these nice little color variations. It's probably better to darken or something along those lines. Yeah, and then you can just start to draw around. And you can see we can get some pretty believable kind of stains and whatnot. Holding shift, you can take away. And depending on how blurred you want it to be, like you can do some pretty substantial kind of shapes. If you want to probably make this a little less intrusive, let's bring it up to like 4. Yeah, something like that. See, like these kind of minor adjustments in color do add a tremendous amount of believability, especially if we're trying to create these environments. Might want to do some on these elements themselves. Now you can also achieve this with stamping images. One of the great things about doing it on this level, you can do it with stamped images as well. You're going to be putting them all on the same layer, and you can do adjustments based off of the layer itself. Yeah, this just instantly adds a lot of lived-in feeling. And as I said, this gives me a lot of control. I can come back in and adjust these values as much as I want to after the fact, as well as how much they're blurred and all of that kind of stuff. We'll do like 40. And maybe we'll blur this out like 53. And we can even add in some, even though that this will probably never be seen. And then what we'll do is let's go into our lighting area over here, our walls, and we can add in manually. We want to make sure that we have walls selected. Now we might want to encapsulate all of this, especially if we're going to be using this back little area over here. And I'm just going to, and you see we'll have to adjust our lighting, create some additional kind of lighting elements. Yeah, why don't we just back while we're at it. And then we can actually go back into our lighting area over here. This one we don't need to be in here. We're going to be moving it on the outside here. We can change the parameters of this lighting back here. Why don't we make this one brightness is like 2. We get a little bit of like that shadow over in that corner. Then let's maybe add in another element here. Gets kind of like this little darkness over in there. But we'll lighten these. Good. Now you can see that once you start to create these little areas around, you can begin to build up dramatic lighting systems as they interact and overlap with each other. So one of the things, let's actually create. We have our windows here, but maybe we have like we're going to add in some cool kind of effects now. What I'm actually going to do is we're going to create our own little maybe like neon sign in this window, and then we'll do a little bit of lighting on the inside here. That. So we're going to go into our effects layer again. We can kind of grab this glow. Well, actually, let's not do it on that one. Do it on this one, right? Because this is in the same vein as that. We might want to bring this down in our brightness. Maybe we'll bring it down to something like 70, maybe, yeah, something like this. And I'll remove certain elements from it like this, making it feel a little bit more inconsistent. And then we can do one on the inside as well. To make sure we want to move most of our wall, but you can see we can get this nice little like glow coming in from the window. And again, make it a little inconsistent. Now what I'll do is I'll go into my above buildings area over here. And I'm just going to switch over. We're going to turn off our fill. We're going to keep our stroke on here. But we're going to find something similar that we're going to want to draw this out in with our line selected here. And I'm just going to draw out some shapes in here. And this is going to be our like sign here. Right? Oh, don't want that to happen. Sometimes it gets a little bit wonky when we're doing certain things like this. So if you just close it down and reopen it, it will should alleviate all of those issues. So that should be something that you are a little bit aware of. I'm going to grab a color, something like this. Maybe make it something like that. And I'm just going to, again, I'm going to be on this above buildings area over here, this line. And we can start to draw out whatever shape we want to. Well, let's do like we'll make it look like Asian characters. I think that would be kind of good, right? It doesn't have to be anything too elaborate. You could even do this. You know what might actually work even better? Here, I'm gonna have like go into our module like this. I wonder if I should make, oh no, let's do it this way, and then we can use that, make it smaller. Make like some symbols here. We can always come back in and adjust these. Just some random kind of stuff here. Shorten this up a little bit. We want it to look a little bit shortened. I think we'll even grab all of this stuff and move it up. Then grab these ones and move them in. We're kind of looking down on it. And then we can go over and grab this. And we can grab this color. I'll lower down the opacity some. I'm just going to make these full. Might even want to elongate it here. And we can go into that effects layer here. I think it's this one. Yeah. And we might want to adjust this down even a little bit more for that glow. Something like this. We should probably do when we're doing this, when we're using this line, we should lower down the alpha of it. So when you draw it, it has a little bit better of a interaction like that. Yeah, that. Try that again. We'll just make some neat little markings and whatnot. If I were to be doing this really in a environment, I would actually, yeah, I would just make it outside and then. But sometimes people don't have that luxury. And as long as it kind of, yeah, see that works pretty well, just on its own like that. We can add in a little bit of additional glow in here. We can get some nice little exterior kind of stuff here. Oh, welcome back, Drake. I think what I'll actually do is we can do a little bit of if you really wanted to get crazy with this kind of stuff, you could either paint in or add in some additional kind of elements here, right? So I think it's clear, yeah. Then we can go over to here. We might even want to put a little bit on these stairs to get lit up by it. Or you could even do a little bit on the edge of these like glasses and things. Might want to. And all of that's done with the effects layer, so it's completely independent of the lighting elements. You could also do this with lighting as well. Awesome. So that's really starting to come along there. Why don't we test it out with our handy dandy guys over here. And we can go into the play mode over here. Clicking on Bob, we can see that this is exactly what our player would see. And he could enter into the establishment here. Probably put him in an actual square. You can see out into the environment. The walls block whatever elements might not be able to be seen, but everything is quite visual to him. And what we'll need to do is make some sort of visual identifier for our door here, maybe our window. But as you can see, as he's walking around out here, you can see inside of these buildings. Everything seems to be functioning as it should. Oh yeah, we could do a sliding door. Go into our sci-fi art pack. Let's look at, well, we can just kind of stamp it on here. I'll do it. And then we can check it in like our doorway here should probably be a little bit smaller. So all we have to do is just grab this stuff. There. Now we just have a little visual indicator of where the doors should be. We'll have to adjust some of the now. This one's kind of like here. What we'll do is we'll bring this one over. We want to have, we should probably do, yeah, maybe move one there. Be kind of like this, I think. What we'll do is let's move this one over. We'll make some of these corners a little bit darker. Kind of cool. And then, yeah, that should be good. We'll add one more light. Like, that's something a little bit. And then I'll add in. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, very cool. Awesome. Well, I am going to take a short break. We're about halfway through here. And so if you guys want to hang out just for a moment, I'll be right back and we will continue on our journey. We'll build the next building. I think we'll do this large one that's kind of like rounded over here. So if you guys can think of some cool ideas that we can do with this, we'll. Oh, take care, Paulette. Enjoy the rest of your birthday. And so I'm going to take a short break, and then we'll dive into creating this other area over here. So yeah, I just want to hang out, and I will be right back. All right, and I'm back. Thanks everyone for hanging out while I refreshed my coffee and stretched my legs for a moment. Oh yeah, spaceships part store. We could definitely do that. Probably won't get to a part where we'll do the top of it today, but we can start to build the interior. Sure. Yeah, and we're gonna do a lot of the exactly the same kind of scenario here, right? First thing I'm gonna do is we have all of our layers set up that I think that we'll possibly need. So everything else after this, we're just going to be using the same layers in different areas. So in my lights over here, I'm just going to switch over here and grab and drop a light in here. Yeah, we do have a rather industrial floor. And what I'll do first is I'm just going to change this light quite large here. Grab this guy, make it like. So we can have this kind of like centralized light here. And then we can start to build out some of the other areas. We'll do something similar as we did over here, but we might change this up a little bit. Now, do you think that this is like an active kind of like storefront, or how do you think that this kind of works? Light back. You think this should just be like a typical kind of spaceship part store, or do you think, yeah, it's like a showroom? You mean like a Home Depot? Sure. Yeah, so we'll do windows all along here. Do sectional windows, and we'll do like a large door here, or maybe we'll do two doors, like one here and one here, one here and one here. Yeah, awesome. All right, so basically what we're going to be doing then with our establishment is we're going to create, see, we got some really already some really kind of cool effects here um, with the way that the floor interacts with the environment. So we can do these rather, we'll do this something back here, but then we'll do like these rows that kind of come out this way. And then we have a little bit of a narrower environment down here. That's really easy for us to fix. We can go back in and adjust this to really be any size that we want to. So if we go into our buildings layer here, and maybe we want to make this the same, right? It's always a good thing to demonstrate because it's something that makes the creation process inside of Fantasy Grounds so much easier. We go into our painting tab, come over here. All I have to do is just grab this stuff, and I want to hold down Control so it snaps to the grid. And we're just going to move this out. Looks to be about right. I don't know if it's correct or not. Now we're going to have to make some adjustments here. We'll have to go to our walls. And again, we're going to grab those and just hold down Control and snap that right to our grid. And then we'll go into our lighting over here. And we're going to have to adjust our mask as well. So we go into our ambient. We're going hide area. And we'll do the same thing over here. I'm gonna just have this. We want to hide this. Ambient light source. Now, if we're going to be doing a second floor of this with like a landing area or whatnot, then obviously what we would want to do is not remove this. We wouldn't have a mask in this area. We would just cover it up with the top. Uh, and then we could hide that when we wanted to reveal the interior. So there's a lot of ways around that. But this is where we're going to start off our base with. And so I'm going to go into my building interior here. We're going to go back into our painting mode. Yes, exactly. Oh, you know what else we should do? Maybe down in one of these alleyways is do like a fire escape and stuff. That would be cool. We could make this. We could put like some big like dumpsters and stuff down and through here with like a fire escape, like the classic alleyway, urban alleyway. And then you could even do a whole like sewers thing where we have like manhole covers. Do another map over here that's like underground and like service tunnels and whatnot, which would be really cool. All right, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to build out inside of this area here. Like what I should do first is clean up some of the mask a little bit. Mask doesn't seem to want to be functioning. Just on, close it down and oh, it's on this layer. And I'm just going to clean up stuff a little bit. We can zoom right in here. Now you guys would never really have to do any of the stuff apps. I tend to Yeah, it's a bit better. It will be less noticeable when lighting it there. I just wanted to make it a little bit closer to our elements, but that's pretty. A space swimming pool. I don't know what is a space swimming pool. Is that like a swimming pool with like this nice industrial thing here? And brush. You can use that good for making our little like bin things here. Anti-grav fields, yeah. Like a swimming pool that's like anti-grav field. Gonna float around in it. I like that idea. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to snap to the grid here. Make sure that I'm in my this I guess we'll do it in the build. And we can just kind of draw out and then we can do parts and shelves and whatnot. We might want to bring this to the edge of the wall here. And we can move these around if we need later on as well. We might want to shorter so we kind of like use this contour a little bit. Yeah, swimming pool in space. Don't you think a swimming pool in space would be tricky though, because all the water would just be floating around? You would have to have you'd have to have it in a bag, like a swimming bag, and then we could do like some sort of officey kind of area back here, or like a checkout thing. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna readjust my lighting in here. So into our lighting tab, move light over here. I'm gonna make this quite a bit smaller. Let's make this like 15, and our dim is gonna be like 20. And then what we can actually do here depending on, can select all of these and make these adjustments at the same time. Because once we put in our windows and doors, we're going to have that interaction with our lighting inside and out, and we might want to change that. Plus, that's a pretty bright little area in here. We might even want to just bring down opacity, or we could just change its color or value. So let's do that. We'll add in our windows here. We'll do one like here. I think we'll do, this will be like our main. Maybe what we'll do is, maybe we'll do our main door here. Then we'll do windows. Rest of it. Don't want these to be toggleable. I'll do the other ones. See, that's much too much light to be. We can remove. Now we can go into our lighting tab here. And I'm going to grab these. Let's make some adjustments to bring this down to that. Still a little bit much, so we're going to make this 10. This 10. I guess it depends on where our lighting. We move them back. I'll have to add in some. Yeah, that should work pretty well. Then we'll go into, you might want to do some additional kind of a, what I think what we should probably do is move, do some smaller light. Yeah, maybe this will be our lights that kind of root out. I really don't want them to spill too much beyond our sidewalk. I want it to add to the ambience, but we don't want it to be too. Let's see, Drake. If those new windows were pits, does it allow the light out and can see inside and out? So the way that a pit works is you can see into it, you just can't see out of it. Yeah, windows you can see through from both sides and inside. The way a pit works, it's just that you can see into it and through it, but once inside of it, you can't see out of it. I use them a lot for elevation. Yeah, yeah. If you wanted to do like a two-way mirror or yeah, two-way mirror, for example, and you wanted to be able to see into a room but not out of it, then you could use a pit. Yep, I think that's good. And what I'll actually do, the pit does not block light, just vision. I probably it blocks light from anything that's inside of it, but not anything that's outside. And we can do some experiments with it. Yeah, I think so. That would work pretty good. We'll have to add one more small one down in the corner over here. Kind of get that feeling. Where lights. Yeah, you could do that, Peatbot, right? You could do a little experiment with it right now. I'll create a new wall layer here. Let's jump over into here and we'll grab the pit. And I'm just gonna snap to the stuff for a reasonable facsimile. Here we have a pit. Right now I have it toggleable and blocks move, which we could have. You can turn that off so it doesn't. Now let's grab combat tracker here. We'll grab our buddy Bob, drop him in here. As you can see, he can see into the building, but once inside, can't see out. Till I turn it. Now if we delete this layer, our Bob first, right, we go back to our normal kind of layer here. Let's do it again, but I'm gonna, so it's not toggleable. Yeah, one way magic window. But as P-Bog was saying, when you're inside a lit room, it's hard to see what's outside particularly well. So you could definitely do it if it was pitch black outside. You could have like a cabin set up, for example, where people could easily see in what's going on. But you can also do that with lighting. Well, you don't have to get too crazy with it, but you could just do it if it's dark outside. Um, then you wouldn't be able to. But yeah, all of that stuff works. Now, what I do want to do is let's do an experiment with lighting though. Turn off is toggleable. And I'll just do, let's say we have a, then we can switch over lights. You can say we have a light, so it does. So if there's a light inside of a pit, it blocks, but you can still see into the. Here we have Bob. See here. Once he goes in the pit, you can't see out of it. Which now that we know this, right? You could use, I think you could use a pit to create directional lighting then. So you could, for example, yeah, let's try this. We could go over, let's say for example, this light. We wanted it to be just a directional light. Bet we could control it with a pit. you'd want to extend this out as far as you could. We'll have to have a look. Yeah, good. No, because you can toggle off. You can toggle off is toggleable and blocks move. So if I were to example grab the out further beyond the capacity of the actual thing, but then if we switch back over into play mode, see we have this nice directional light now. We could grab Bob and drop him into the play area, and he can move through this area, but he'll only be able to see while in that direction. Can't see out of it. Yeah, it's exactly accurate. Like you can't see beyond what you is visible. And it would work really well if the total surrounding area was very dark. We have a lot of ambient light going. But thing to think about. I'll have to play around with that some more. All right, back off of on our tangent there for a little bit. Let's go back to our creation of. First thing I'm going to do is our buildings back over in tab here. And I'm going to darken up this floor a little bit. And let's remove some of the blue. I want it to feel a little bit more industrial. To be a little bit darker. Yeah, that should be pretty good. And what we can actually do is I'm going to go into this effects layer that we created. I'm going to go into our tab. And we're going to do the same kind of stuff we did before. You can see that because this is a much lighter floor, we'll probably lighten up our either that or maybe we want this to feel like a little bit. Yeah, maybe. Great. And again, I think what I'll do is I'll come in here, stamp, add in some. So basically, you're just climbing through another creature. That's your. People do that for fun. That's disgusting. And then we can go into our whole spaceship part. And here we have all kinds of decorations we can use up these aisles and we might want to we will make it better. We can do some using layers that we are and what I'll do is we're in our lower down our alpha chip. And we can go down into the additional. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to start winding down the stream for today. You guys have any other questions, or is there anything else that let's? Is there anything that I might have done, or something that you need further clarification on? Oh yeah, no problem at all, big man. There is no requirement that you need to be chatty at all. Glad that got to hang out. And you can see how great it is to have this layer where you can just jump in here, add these shadows that are working around. Oh, good. I'm glad, Pete. And again, we can do exactly the same kind of. Begin to fill up our store here with lots of cool parts. Yeah, pretty cool little environment here. I wonder too. Maybe all of them? Fell off the back of somebody's truck. And we could build some shelves in here as well. We have so many different parts. You can build your own as well. Salvage legally, that's right. Do some propulsion. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all again for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. I'll be back here this next Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm glad that we made it through today. Had quite a insane snowstorm today. We got about, well, last I looked, it was about 20 inches outside from this snowstorm, which is pretty crazy. I had the lights flicker a couple of times earlier, so I was a little worried, but it all worked out, which I'm very happy with. Um, and yeah, I think that's everything. So thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you all next time. I hope everyone has a great week.